Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Journey into Comics, a podcast about comic books, video games, movies, television, and everything nerd, with your hosts, Nate Phillips and Brandon Stone.
You're gonna see some serious shit.
Hey everybody, Nate here with Journey into Comics. Today, joined by my co-host, Brando. Hey, how's it going, buddy?
What's up, buddy?
Dude, not much. It seems like it's been forever since we've talked.
It's been a little bit. I think we took a week off.
Yeah, and we almost took 2 weeks off, but we couldn't stay away. This is kind of a special episode. Before we really get down to that, what's been new with you, man? What's going on?
Nothing, really. Honestly, just I'm on shutdown right now, so I'm not working. And I'm just waiting for a certain baby to arrive.
Yeah, that's got to be a little bit stressful, you know.
That's not stressful, honestly. It's more stressful that he's not here yet.
Okay, fair enough. I guess that's true. You just want the birth part to be over with and start the parenting process,
Yep.
I'm sure. So today, Brando, we're bringing them, I guess it makes sense. This is penance for your sins last year. We're talking SDCC, unlike last year where we talked SCDD.
What is it, CDCC?
CDCC, that's what it was. See, I can't even remember, man. It's been so long.
Yeah, no, I kept messing it up and calling it that for some reason. Like the CDC or something like that.
It was there. It happens sometimes. You know how that is. But, man, for this year, San Diego Comic-Con definitely put their foots on people's throats, and there were just big announcement after big announcement. We're going to get started right away with what I think, and Brandon, you can, concur or disagree. In my opinion, this is the biggest one that came out of the San Diego Comic-Con this year.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I definitely agree with that. The first thing that we're going to talk about, of course, is the Batman v Superman trailer, the official trailer. The first official trailer that we've got. The other one was just a teaser. This trailer, there's so much packed into this trailer. If you slow it down, stop it, take a look around, pay attention to certain words that are said. This trailer was very deliberately put together.
Yeah, it's very Easter egg heavy.
Mm-hmm.
There are definitely some beautiful, I'm sure you at least had one or two moments of reference from your favorite Batman story, Dark Knight Returns.
Oh, yeah.
Show up in the trailer. So let's just get down to it. We start with Senator talking about what Superman has done in his actions. And, it's interesting because it seems like they're taking this route in this movie where everyone is painting Superman as not necessarily a savior, even though he is a savior because of all the damage that was done during the Zod battle in Man of Steel.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It really seems like they're putting him on a pedestal. There are those who really thank him, I guess, for doing what he did, but there are also those, just as any sort of political climate that we live in today, are going to take a side, and there's going to be one extreme, and then there's going to be the other extreme. It seems like the world that we live in now. Yeah, it's very difficult to find people who are just sort of like in the middle or indifferent. You either have a very strong opinion one way or the other, and it definitely seems like that this movie is going to play off of like some of the current political climate that we live in.
Yeah, and it seems like in this trailer we find out loosely, because obviously we haven't seen the movie yet, it seems like we loosely find out what causes Bruce and Batman to kind of want to oppose Superman. As there's a scene where Batfleck is running towards Wayne Financial. Now, interestingly enough, before we started today, Brando, I found somebody has put together just a little GIF or GIF or whatever the hell you call them of the scene for Man of Steel where Zod's using his heat beams to destroy that building, and it's that footage, and then it's the footage from the SDCC Batman v Superman trailer, and they match up perfectly, like the motions. They made sure to get it exactly how Zod destroyed the building in Man of Steel. They made it look exactly the same, so that moment is the same moment in time, which is, I thought, was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so What was your favorite Easter egg that you saw?
Wow. I mean, you've already mentioned some of the older Batman, the older Batman book that this movie's borrowing heavily from. And of course, in that universe, it's sort of a splintered universe. Of course, the Dark Knight Returns has been officially, it is its own sort of, universe into itself. But it also has, it almost sort of like it deviates from a certain point in Batman's history. And there is an Easter egg where it shows Robin's outfit with spray paint on it. And that was my favorite.
Joke's on you, Batman.
And I absolutely love that, because that right there tells you that this is a history where Robin was there, Jason Todd, and now is dead.
And that seems to leave the door open for a possible Carrie Kelly Robin, which would be interesting to see. They've not confirmed that she'll be in the movie, but there have been unconfirmed reports that the character was cast. I think my question when I was watching this trailer was, does that mean officially, we're having at least 3 villains in this movie?
Well, okay, I mean, because here's what I was thinking, because something's got to go really bad for Batman to go away, right? For him to totally retire. And one would assume is that one of the first things to go would be, Robin's death. And of course, he's on top of the build of what I assume to be Gotham City, the police department, with the bat signal. So there's no Gordon, but I haven't heard anything about a Gordon being cast.
I feel like they said in early months of Batman v Superman that in this universe Gordon is also dead.
So, okay, Gordon is also dead, and that's exactly what I was kind of thinking of. Now, I mean, one could only assume that probably one person is responsible for both of those. And with sort of Gotham being cleaned up, I can see why Batman would hang it up. It's almost like when he went out to do what he was, set out to do, all this pain came with it. More pain than what he thought. And now that stuff has died down, it's the idea of, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this to myself. I can't put myself through this agony, even though, he still has that calling, if you will, that want for vengeance. Now, it takes Superman to bring him back. And it's funny because the way he sees it, now this is just from my perspective, just from this trailer, and I guess from what little we got from the teaser, which wasn't much, but he's definitely opposed to Superman. And he says in this trailer, this guy, he has the power to destroy the entire human race. Who else can, I have to destroy him. But why? It's like, because who else can stand up to him? This guy, he's this all-powerful guy, and he's just going to be left unchecked. And there was also stuff in the trailer that led me to believe that I do believe that even though, okay, because this is a sort of contention for me a little bit. Of course, Batman is supposed to be the greatest detective, right? Now, granted, in the movies, he really hasn't been that. I think there's maybe one scene from The Dark Knight where it actually showed off some of his detective skills.
Oh, yeah, when he reconstructs the bullet.
Yeah, it's like, that's the only scene that I can actually recall from any of the movies that have led the cinematic Batman on to be like a good detective, which is a shame, and I would hope that this one would be a little bit more intuitive. But when he's looking at the paper and there's some words written on it, says, "You let your family die." Is that what was written on the paper?
Correct, and that was on the snippet from when Wayne Financial was taken out during the Man of Steel Zod battle.
Now, someone is toying around with him and getting inside his head and into his emotions, filling it with rage to the point where he's not thinking straight.
Correct.
He isn't thinking straight. And what's awesome is that this trailer also gives us our first view of Alfred Pennyworth.
Correct. Jeremy Irons looking awesome. Jeremy Irons being the voice of reason in this trailer.
Pretty much, yes.
And that's saying, Superman is not an enemy of us, and he's not the bad guy. here.
That's what I really liked also, because I was a little worried, and what was sort of said in the teaser is that, that maybe Alfred will be kind of fanning the flames a little bit, but thankfully that's not the case.
Yeah, he's trying to do the right thing, and he also doesn't want to see Bruce get absolutely devastated. Which we know that it's not going to be that way, but to Alfred and his perspective, this guy is the Man of Steel. I mean, end of story. He's the fucking man, And
Yeah.
To Alfred, it's like, Bruce, why risk it all and get yourself killed? You've already lost so much. I've lost so much, Because you think the loss of Jason Todd didn't just affect Bruce Wayne, it also affected Alfred. There's no way they can avoid that.
No.
So, with that being said, it's like, man, Alfred gets to be this cool voice of reason and kind of say, Bruce, you need to really think out your moves, because you could really do something stupid that you can't come back from.
Now, another thing that I want to touch on is something that was in the teaser, where you have all those guys sort of kneeling before Superman. They've got Superman, like, the S patches, and they've got guns. It seems like they're like a Superman task force. It seems like they're idolizing him.
Yeah, like, it's not his own controlled private army, but it's like they worship him and will do his bidding.
And I think Batman takes a little bit of a problem with that. I think because there's a scene shown later on where you have desert-clad Batman.
Yeah, Batman Noir.
I mean, it really looked like it was, like, in a way inspired from, like, the new Mad Max film that came out, where he had, like, the goggles and everything. It was kind of neat. I kind of think that'd make a pretty cool action figure.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll do something like that. We got to see a lot in this trailer. You said we got to see our first peek of Alfred. We also got to see Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, which she looks phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
And very ultra-powerful. I'm very, very interested in how they're going to introduce her into this already jam-packed story. I mean, for God's sakes, Brando, Superman's going back to the farm to talk to his mom. Those are precious seconds, and you're wasting them on that conversation? Come on now. You're supposed to be building a Justice League.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to be seeing a whole lot of Aquaman in this film, to be honest with you. I think he's going to have a cameo. I think whatever's going on with Aquaman is also somehow tied to LexCorp.
Well, and see, that's what somebody said, or the ever constant internet rumors are that they believe, Aquaman is going to be trapped or imprisoned by LexCorp and their technology, and that while he's imprisoned, in some reason or rhyme, and again, this is all, conspiracy rumor bullshit. We don't, we can't confirm or deny this, but apparently Barry Allen's Flash will break Aquaman out of LexCorp, and that'll be your first time you see the Flash. Will just be as this, like, fast-paced lightning bolt moving on the screen, and all of a sudden Aquaman's not in the cell anymore. But why those two even have a connection is the one thing that in that rumor was like, I don't know, man. That's kind of a stretch. Like, why would Barry Allen go save some dude he doesn't even know from LexCorp?
Well, there could be some underlying story that we're not going to get.
Well, that's true. It is only a trailer, and we're pretty early on. Was there anything in this trailer that you just thought was kind of meh?
Meh? Not really, because it's just a trailer. Nothing about this. I mean, I'm very open-minded about this film, and I always have been. I have been since I saw the first teaser. I mean, it grabbed me instantly with all those visuals from Dark Knight Returns, and it was sort of predictable in a way, but I don't think that we're going to get around that. You know what I mean? Because, I mean, you could easily say that Age of Ultron is also very predictable.
Yeah, totally. I mean, they're comic book movies, and you can only do so much, and you kind of have to have an idea of where things go. Now, real quick, to kind of jump back for a second, earlier I kind of asked, like, what did you think about, like, how many villains we may have in this? And we were talking, and it seems that the Joker is going to be playing a part in Batman v Superman, which would only make sense to set up for the movie we're going to be talking about next, Suicide Squad. But, you know, you've got Lex Luthor, then you've got Batman and Superman having their own battle. Do you think that these continuous unconfirmed rumors of Doomsday are true? Will we see Doomsday make his appearance in this film? I mean, that seems like they're cramming an awful lot.
Honestly, I think it's going to be that is going to be something. If it happens, it's going to be something that could be like uniting the forces, I guess. Because I think Batman, to a certain extent, and when I just watched the trailer again before we went on the air, he's sort of coming off as like the driven villain. He's not like the evil villain who is going to like come in and like, you know, take over the play. He's not villainous, but he's going to be the antagonist to Superman's protagonist.
Absolutely.
And so there's a certain point, and we know this. I mean, this is like, if you do a movie like this is going to just make so many comic book fans make all their wet dreams come true. But you know for a fact that neither one of these two characters are going to die.
Exactly.
You know that, and that's something that, as I said before, with the whole like things being predictable, is something that we're just going to have to accept, because in a way that makes the story somewhat predictable. There is a scene where you see Wonder Woman in action, and it really seems like there's a big battle going on. Could that be from the Doomsday battle?
Oh, and she's joining forces with them. That makes sense.
I mean, it would take those three to take him out.
Yeah.
And then that would be the sort of dawn of justice, I guess, where this isn't the Justice League, but it's like this is the start of where we're going.
I mean, it's literally the birth of their team. I mean, it's their inception. It's the start of everything they know.
It's what the Avengers movie did for the Avengers. It's what, you know, at the very end of this movie, it's what we're going to get is that big team up. Now, granted, it's not going to be a multiple movie built up team up, but at the same time, these are the three biggest superheroes in the history of comics.
Okay, I can vibe with that.
You know, I mean, I love all my Marvel characters. I love Spider-Man. He's right up there with them. No offense, but I mean, just, you know, there's no doubt that these three are some of the most iconic heroes over the years, and they haven't always been used in the right way. We haven't always got the right movie out of these guys, and in terms of Wonder Woman, never got a movie at all.
No, and anything they've ever done with Wonder Woman has been extraordinarily campy.
Exactly. This is a chance. We don't really need that big build-up, because it's almost like if you do the big build-up for the DC characters, it's going to be seen as, oh, they're doing the same thing. And of course they're doing the same thing. It's a superhero film. But to do it this way is a different way. I think it's the right move, because it's not going to be seen as directly copying what Marvel's already done. Granted, Marvel didn't even know that they were going to be doing that when they first started Iron Man. I mean, all that success hinged on whether or not Iron Man was a success.
Correct.
You know, they just kept adding on. Okay, okay, let's do this. Let's bring this guy in. Let's try to do this. All right, now we can finally build something. With this, it's like, you know, we had Man of Steel, which is sort of like the preface to this new universe. And now this movie is going to be the launching pad, pretty much, for what's going forward, especially with all the films that they have pre-announced.
I mean, they've got tons of them pre-announced. One thing that was announced over SDCC weekend that I personally believe has direct correlation with something we may see in maybe a post-credit sequence, a little couple-second teaser, but the fact that DC went out of their way to officially announce the Green Lantern Corps movie. They're doing Green Lantern. They're going to do Green Lantern Corps. That leaves the door open that Green Lantern's going to be the 7th and maybe make a minor appearance, one of them, in Dawn of Justice.
Well, see, and with them doing the Corps, that's a great idea for me, because in the other movie, when they had the Green Lantern, they had it to where, okay, you have Hal Jordan and you have all these other guys. And it's like, what makes Hal Jordan so special when you have all these other guys? And that's a hard question to answer in the confines of one film. So now, if you're going to do a movie about the whole Corps, and then one of those guys, Hal Jordan, comes to the Justice League as being a representative of the Green Lantern Corps, another film that got announced standalone Batman film.
Directed by Affleck, written by Jeff Johns.
Mm-hmm.
Should be, I mean, Affleck's on the ball with his directing. He's not
Dude,
directed a bad movie.
Exactly. And the same thing with his writing. I think he's going to help write it as well. And that's the thing, is that there's so many people, who are looking at Affleck's, I guess, career before the most recent times. And I've had this conversation with so many people who aren't necessarily like super big comic book fans, but are yet still nonetheless, they like the movies, they like this and that. They're very weary about him playing Batman. And I'm like, dude, he is such the uber Batman nerd. You have nothing to worry about. He only played Daredevil because he couldn't play Batman.
Yeah, we've talked about that on this show, you know.
Oh, yeah, exactly. So the fact is that he is such a Batman nerd, is that with a part of this deal, I think, was like, we'll gauge it, but we'll put tentative plans in for you to do your own Batman film. Not just, your own standalone film where you play Batman. You can tell the story that you want to tell. Now, obviously, as they want to do some sort of parody with these films, create their own universe, and that's fine, but you can also create your own tale within that universe and have it just be your own, just as they've done with the Marvel side.
So do you think that if we get a standalone Batman, that maybe it will almost certainly have to be the death in the family storyline, and we see the death of Jason Todd?
Honestly, I wouldn't go back.
You'd move forward from the Justice League.
I would move forward because that's the Dawn of Justice movie is sort of almost like, this isn't the right way to say it, but it's the way I'm thinking of it, the regenesis of Batman. He's already hung up the mantle. He's done. He is not Batman anymore because of what's happened. He's older. And now he's back into it. So you have him back out now, and especially with his cameo in Suicide Squad.
Yeah, Batfleck. Like I said last time we talked about him, making splashes on all the movies he touches.
So, I mean, now there is something that I do want to touch on with the Batman v Superman trailer before we move on, and that is our first look at Lex Luthor.
Full of hair.
Full of hair. Almost looks like a wig, doesn't it?
Yeah, he kind of demented looking, like he's got a screw or 10 loose.
Well, yes, and he's a younger cat, which I'm actually okay with. I know there's some people would prefer him to be sort of like the more established guy, but I'm more than okay with having him be like this young, arrogant entrepreneur. Meanwhile, you have Wayne, who's been around for years and years, and then you have this new cat, Superman, come around. I mean, it makes sense in a way because they're sort of toying with this with the timeline a little bit of where, in this one, Batman is come and gone, and then Superman shows up, and then Batman comes back. Whereas, in the comics, they've existed, sort of, together on the same timeline, almost, or at least they have some sort of correlation. This one's a bit different. With Luthor, the one thing that I'm liking is sort of like, it's in the trailer, and it's so obvious, he's definitely toying around with the situation. It's almost like he's doing it to make financial gain in a way. There's a scene where he is, like, Superman's like on his knees to him.
He was almost petting him.
Yeah, he didn't touch him, but he just sort of like put his hand around his face, and it was really weird.
It was very weird and uncomfortable. As I yawn unnecessarily, this trailer made me go, "Oh fuck yeah!" Like DC. We haven't even talked about the rest of San Diego Comic-Con, but in my opinion, just on the strength of this trailer alone, DC won SDCC this year.
Well, Marvel really didn't even show up.
No, they didn't, and they kind of planned it that way. They're being understated right now. It's, they're filming Civil War. They're working really hard to keep that under wraps, keep it awesome.
They don't really have much to show anyway. I mean,
they wouldn't have much to show, and then outside of that, you can't really show stuff from anything after Civil War because it would be spoiler laden.
Yeah.
If someone dies or someone has something happen to them and you show them in any kind of trailer, I mean, the luxury of, from what I understand, Suicide Squad's a prequel kind of to Dawn of Justice. Is that kind of the way you understood it, or it happens right after, or Where does it fit in with all of this?
Well, the movie's coming out after.
Well, I know the movie's coming out after. I just don't know if the timeline is before Batman hangs it up.
I don't know about that. I really don't know, because of course there's that scene where Batman's on top of the Joker mobile, and that was actually shown in the trailer for just a second, but that was something that actually got leaked by the internet
A few months ago, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, could that be before? Yes. But it could also be after. I mean, we could just have him show up and sort of like mess with the plans a little bit. Because in the movie, they actually mention Superman coming out. And they mention the fact that while all these people have gone away, it's like Superman's arrival has sort of like took a spark in some of these people.
Yeah. One last thing before we actually move into the Suicide Squad conversation. I want to mention in just 2 days, Batman vs. Superman trailer has over 20 million plays.
Awesome.
I mean,
awesome.
it's booking right along.
Awesome. I mean, it had my attention from the get-go. So I'm such a diehard, fan of these characters. More so Batman than I am Superman, but I also do enjoy Superman, even though he's a bit overrated in my opinion, but I still enjoy the character. I had my attention from the get-go, and I'm very glad. I mean, there's a lot of people who are skeptical, and I can understand why. They have a lot of reason to be skeptical. Especially since, I mean, honestly, I think some of it has to do with Affleck playing Batman. Some of it has to do with, now DC's going to try and pull a Marvel. It's like, well, Marvel didn't know they were going to pull a Marvel at first,
I wanted to bring that up, Brando. A lot of people bitch and piss and moan, and for a short amount of time, I was one of those people that complained and said, well, why are you going to do a movie universe if you haven't even set up the fucking universe? And how are you going to have your second movie launch your entire universe like that? And after much really thought and just sitting back and kind of taking in all the moves DC are making, the only thing I can really say is they know they can't be Marvel, so instead of trying to replicate what Marvel did, they're trying to take a totally different approach and to reference something that we kind of referenced a couple episodes ago. I can't. Anyways, I'm all over the place, Brando, because I'm really excited about this movie. But it's like DC decided, hey, we don't need the foreplay. Let's just skip to the sex. Like, let's just get down to it. You know what you want. You don't need to be teased about it. Here it is. Let's start here, and then we'll just give you more of that.
Well, see, you also have characters such as like Batman who doesn't really need a full-on origin story. We've seen it.
Even in the trailer.
Yeah, even in the trailer. Even in the trailer. Of course, people were like, damn it, if they show his parents getting killed again. I'm like, you've got to do that, though, almost, in every single Batman thing, because that's the core of why he's doing what he's doing.
Exactly. You know the guy that it looked like is playing Thomas Wayne, by the way?
Hold on. Do you know who he looked like to me? Nick Cage.
No, you know who he looked like to me, which I think is who he is? The guy that played comedian in The Watchmen. I mean, you may want to
Snyder, yeah, maybe we have to look that up.
You may IMDb that for the audience to give them that fact, but I mean, as soon as I saw it, I was like, wait a minute, is that the fucking comedian? No way, weirdo! Way to cop out and get the lamest movie role ever. Hey, do you want to go from playing the comedian to dying in the first sequence of Batman v Superman?
Well, apparently the first thing that comes up when you type in The Watchmen into IMDb is an episode of Unsealed Alien Files.
Weird.
I know. The movie was right underneath it. I accidentally clicked on the first one. So, where is he at? Jeffrey Dean Morgan. Batman v Superman, Thomas Wayne.
Man, I'm good.
Right on it. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
It makes sense, though, because obviously directed also by our friend Mr. Snyder.
Yeah, Zack Snyder. He's he's a dark ass director, bro.
Did I say Tom Snyder earlier?
I don't know what you said. Maybe you said Tom Snyder.
I don't know why I said that. But
what's his name?
Zack Snyder.
Oh, Zack Snyder. I thought you were talking about the actor who
No, no, no,
played.
no.
I was like, what?
The
Tom
actor is
Snyder?
Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Okay, Jeffrey Dean Morgan. Cool. Uh, so yeah, Batman v Superman looks super awesome. I'm really excited. 2016 definitely a huge, extraordinarily busy year for comic book movies. Kicking off with, we'll have Deadpool in February. Move into Batman v Superman for March. May we'll get Civil War, and we'll just keep on kicking ass through that whole entire year. And I mean, we haven't even got to the fat of this year yet, where we're gonna get a new Star Wars film, which we'll talk about shortly. Brando, rapid reaction. What are your thoughts on this Suicide Squad trailer that we finally got to see after? What the fuck is up with studios? Let's real quick. I'm making a quick tangent. It's a little bit of an angsty rant. Here's my issue with what's going on at San Diego Comic-Con. So let me know what you think. You have these companies, they come in, they say, hey, Hall H, here's footage for our movie that you're really excited to see. Everyone flips the fuck out and goes, fuck yeah, I'm excited to see this. And then the footage has to quote-unquote leak instead of the studio just going, hey, we're in the 21st fucking century. Check it out for yourselves. It's going to help to sell their movies better, and honestly, they're fucking themselves over. And I was angry because Suicide Squad was one of the trailers that I really wanted to see. So of course I went and found a leaked version, and it looked like shit, and I couldn't see the fucking picture. So I was really just listening, and you hear, we get to hear Leto's Joker at the end, which we'll talk about here in a couple seconds. And I was like, why don't they just fucking release that, man? People are going to be excited to see the Suicide Squad trailer. It's not like it's going to be bad press for them. And then the same thing happens with another movie that we'll be discussing here shortly in Deadpool, where, some leaked footage happens. Everyone rants about how amazing this teaser trailer is, and they go, oh, we're not releasing it for 3 weeks. No, the fucking momentum is on your side right now. Everyone's talking about it. Now should be when, people should be getting stuff put the trailers out for people as fucking soon as you can. It's gonna sell your movie better. Look at Batman v Superman. People were a little bit concerned. DC released it at Comic-Con at Hall H, and then as soon as their panel was over, it was up online and people were already viewing it. I think in the first 7 hours it was averaging 1 million plays an hour. That's crazy.
I agree with you. I mean, we don't know like exactly why there was a wait. I just assumed as soon as the weekend was over, when the week coming through after, then we would start seeing the official releases of some of these trailers. But if they weren't up already, because obviously, as you said, Batman v Superman went up pretty quickly, and then right before we went on the air here to record, you sent me the link for the HD Suicide Squad.
Yeah,
which had gone up. But today, is that when it got?
Yeah, it had gone up literally like an hour before I tagged you. So I guess, Brando, in a day and age where, and this will tie in nicely to the other half of our world here, E3, they live stream the whole fucking event. And people get to watch from their houses, and see all the new games and stuff that are coming out. Why is it that Comic-Con is starting to become archaic and not using this as a platform to help sell what people already want? We're the nerds, man. We want to see this product. Show it to us. It's not going to hurt, at all. Unless you don't have faith in your product, which, if you don't have faith in it, why the fuck are you showing it at Comic-Con?
Yeah, I mean, I could see the plus and negatives. I do know that sometimes a lot of the panels are streamed, but they're not like under like a certain like umbrella or anything like that. There's no official stream of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As far as like the overbranding of Comic-Con, honestly, I think that has a lot to do with maybe the layout. Maybe there are certain things that are like preventing that because they have so many people in a certain area doing stuff at the same time. But, I mean, I guess it is what it is. It just kind of sucks because there were just so much stuff happening so quickly, and there wasn't enough access to it. In fact, you had to deal with crappy cell phone footage of said trailers.
And, it's just frustrating. But let's get down to it. We were talking about Suicide Squad trailer just went up today in this very special release Journey into Comics episode where we're just discussing San Diego Comic-Con. Brandon, go ahead, throw it down, man. Rapid reaction. What do you think of the Suicide Squad trailer now that we've seen some of the footage, for this movie that they're working on?
I like it. I like it a lot. Again, we really don't know what they're doing or why they're doing it. That's like the only thing that I didn't really like is that, yes, they're forming a crew of, villains, of criminals, and that's their cop out. They said if stuff goes wrong, they're just going to blame them. Something's happening to where they need to make a team, but we don't know what that is yet. The trailer did not reveal what that was to me.
I'm wondering. Go ahead.
No. By all means.
Oh, I was just going to say, I'm wondering if the big bad for Suicide Squad is actually Joker. Because there wasn't any footage of him, obviously, with anyone other than Harley. And you're going to have a Suicide Squad. That's a team, but he's not a part of the team. What if Joker's gone rogue and the only way that Amanda Waller knows how to stop him, because Batman can't stop him, because no one can stop him, is to form... Task Force X, as they were originally called, and in the Suicide Squad, and send, some of the very, very best of the worst at the Joker.
Maybe. I mean, again, we don't know.
I know, it's so hard to speculate. I hate it.
But I will say I'm very interested in seeing Will Smith's portrayal of Deadshot. Even in the trailer, I mean, I always wondered what it was going to be like to see Will Smith play a villain. And I'm already getting the flavor that he's going to be somewhat of a sympathetic villain.
Kind of a good guy?
Yeah, sort of. I mean, not necessarily a good guy, but, not a guy who's like the most evil person in the entire world.
Just because he is bad guy doesn't mean he is bad guy,
I will say...
Wreck-It Ralph.
I'm looking at the IMDb and... scrolling down, all the way down, I had it for a second, and I lost it. Where is he? Oh, yes. Some guy by the name of Ike Barinholtz. I'm probably ruined that guy's name.
Okay.
He looks familiar. I've seen him around, maybe in a couple other movies. Anyway, he is playing Hugo Strange.
Really?
Hugo Strange.
Wow, that's awesome.
And that's what got me is like, as I was just, scrolling down, seeing some of the guys, okay, you got Joker, you got Harley Quinn, Captain Boomerang, Enchantress, Batman, Killer Croc. I'm like, Hugo Strange? I didn't even know he was in this. I wonder what he's doing in there.
The guy that's talking to Harley in this trailer that says something about being crazy towards the end of the trailer, what character was that?
Well, it was only the voice. I didn't see his face.
Well, no, they show him because he's a scruffy, kind of chubby dude.
Scruffy, chubby dude. Well,
like
that helps.
It's not really a good descriptor, but he's got a beard. Like, he's straight grizzly looking.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. None of the guys on the in their face profile on IMDb are chubby or beardy looking.
Well, fuck. Okay.
Maybe, yeah. I'm not really seeing. The only scruffy beardy guy is Jared Leto, but he doesn't look like that in the movie.
No, and what he looks like in the movie is just, I don't know, man.
I tell you what, I did like. Okay. We're just going to move right on into this because we're so close. Okay. The end of the trailer, after you say like somebody crazy, you hear the laugh, which I love because it's like the classic, it's the classic comic book style. And then we finally see him and we see the performance. His teeth makes total sense to me now. When you see it close up and in action. I mean, it makes total sense why his teeth would look like that and capped and everything, because he got his face punched in.
Yep, exactly.
He he has had his face punched in, presumably by the bat.
I mean,
But
you would almost have to 100% assume that it's the bat, but it makes the most sense.
I mean, a lot of people were saying, I don't like the grill. And I'm like, well, it doesn't really look like a grill. It looks like something that was done probably, in prison or something as a way to, like, fix his teeth. But I do like it because then if you actually look at it with the way that some of his teeth kind of look with that, it looks kind of like that. His teeth kind of have that like you can see like what's left of his teeth have like that kind of a sharp, toothy, kind of like the comic book look, where they're kind of broken and everything. So I really like that without having to just make them look like that. You like makes sense that they would get fixed,
And that he would be kind of what's the word? He would be kind of over dramatic about how he got him fixed,
Yeah, I mean, he was always over dramatic how he got his scars in the Dark Knight trilogy.
Correct.
But I liked his lies. I really like how the eyes are just bugging out. And I mean, there are different ways to portray a Joker. You can overact, which is by all means a good way to portray the Joker, because he's very dramatic. He's very all over the place. It's like, I don't understand how you can, like, okay, Heath Ledger's Joker was a more toned down, sort of grunge version of him. But, like, the classic interpretation of the Joker is almost like jumping out of your skin with it's almost like he jumps out of his skin in excitement and then he immediately dials it back down into this sinister, sort of, like, vile human being. And I kind of like that a little bit because there's a little bit in that, not without him like jumping him down and being super cartoony about it. But I did like the line, "I'm not going to kill you. I'm just going to hurt you really, really bad."
Yeah, that was an excellent way to end the trailer. I like the Suicide Squad logo, by the way.
Yeah.
Looking neat. This movie I'm excited for. Again, this is one of those movies, proceed with caution. Crazy that this will be the second DC movie released in 2016.
Yeah. What I do like about it, though, is that it gives us it's almost like another setup movie for another part of it, because with Batman v Superman, you're getting these big heroes out of the way, and now you're introducing some villains that they can bring back.
Dude, you know what I just had a thought of? In Batman vs. Superman universe, we know that Jason Todd's Robin is dead, presumably, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean that Nightwing is somewhere?
Nightwing could be somewhere. It all depends on how much they are actually going for the Dark Knight Returns book, because in that book, him and Wayne are no longer talking. But I mean, as I said, it's sort of like it is depending. Because I want to say, I actually have not read the sequel to The Dark Knight Returns as much as I love that book, simply because I've heard it's not nearly as good.
Yeah.
And in that book, I do know that Dick does show up and fights Wayne. So I don't know.
See, to me, man, in this trailer, here are some things that I noticed that I thought was interesting. I think Margot Robbie looks hot as hell as Harley Quinn. She's killing it. I like her voice from what we heard of it, which was very limited in the trailer, but from what we heard was still cool. One thing I like is also how Killer Croc looks.
Mm-hmm.
I like how they have Katana looking. Like, I think they got the character design in this movie down. I'm just hoping that they can tell an intelligent enough story. My worry is that no one, I mean, not no one, obviously, but I'm just worried that only comic book fans are going to be in it for Suicide Squad, and no matter how hard you try to sell this movie to the general public, it's not going to do well. And
Well,
I don't want to see this movie fail, because that's going to just take away from some of the other awesome movies that it could set up.
I'm sure that was the same thought about Guardians as well.
Well, yeah, but Guardians has a sense of... Guardians from the very get-go was comedic, and in the trailer, the comedy is what sold the audience. This is a very different, very dark-looking movie.
It is, yes, but I mean, while they are completely separate, I honestly don't think that there was that much expectation going into Guardians until after it opened, and I think word of mouth really spread about that film very quickly.
Well, then let's hope that happens with Suicide Squad.
Because not only with Guardians, I mean, not only did they do Guardians, but they also did a variation of it that also wasn't like the most well known.
Yeah, no, you're right, man.
So I mean that movie to me had a big, it was like writing, like the same mentality. It's like, okay, just writing on the comic book guys, and hopefully it'll break through. Do I think Suicide Squad's going to have that same magic? Not necessarily, no. But do I think it's going to do well? Hopefully. It definitely has some of the name power in it. I think Will Smith playing a villain, even though what we perceive is not necessarily the most villainous character in the movie, so that's fine.
Welcome to Earth.
Welcome to Earth. I think the excitement for this movie is going to build after the Batman v Superman movie. I think that movie needs to come out swinging first, get people excited, and then this movie is going to then rise in stock after, especially with the confirmed appearance of Ben Affleck as Batman coming back. It's like, okay, he's back on screen again, even though he's not the top billed guy. This is another part of this universe. Let's go see it. I think it's going to build after Batman v Superman.
All right, Brando, I got a question, bro.
What's that, man?
We've been talking about how 2016 is very much a busy year for movies.
Yeah, it is.
We know that both Suicide Squad and Batman v Superman come out in 2016. What we do also know, but I'm so excited to talk about it, like I can't control myself. Deadpool is happening. It's not a joke.
Or is it?
No, it's not a joke. It's not a joke this time, though. And I love that I don't know if you watched the panel for the Deadpool panel. First of all, that is the funniest fucking cast I've ever listened talk. Just as people, they have such a chemistry with each other that without even seeing the leaked trailer, I know this movie's going to be good. But just from what everyone coming out of Comic-Con said, man, they have nailed Deadpool on the fucking head, and this movie's going to be absolutely kick ass.
Oh yeah, I was really excited to sit back and watch the trailer, even though it was, as we said before, one of those cell phone recorded trailers. Not the best. I can't wait to see the whole thing in HD. But I did like a lot of the jokes even before the Deadpool action got started. There was a lot of cliche going on. It's like, it's almost kind of like the $6 Million Man. We have that technology. We can rebuild him. We can make you a superhero. And then I love the line that he says, just make sure that the costume is not, like, what do you say, green?
He says, just whatever you do, no green costumes.
And not animated.
And not animated. Which is, a direct dig at Green Lantern, which I loved. Because, Marvel and DC, they throw friendly jabs at each other.
I liked it because, obviously, he, Ryan Reynolds also played in the last Green Lantern movie and did that. So I liked it a lot. They mentioned, like, what do you say, something that is usually lost with this procedure is the sense of humor.
Yeah, I think something to that effect. Like I said, I didn't actually watch it, so I just saw the description, so you will probably be able to walk our audience through it better than I would. The only things that I read from the description that stood out was the introduction of, the Negasonic Warhead Teenager, and he said, that's the fucking coolest name I've ever heard, or some shit like that. And then...
I think he says, what the shit?
And then the other thing was this guy brought his brown pants. He gets it,
Yeah, Deadpool says, I bet you're wondering what's with the red suit. That's so my enemies can't see me bleed. See, this guy wore the brown pants. He gets the idea.
Exactly. And then what was the other? There was one other thing from this trailer? Oh, obviously the end, where he's sniffing the guns and saying how he's touching himself tonight.
There's a really cool cue. I like it because after he meets up with I cannot remember the name. We just said it. Negasonic
Warhead teenager or teenage warhead. I don't know.
Warhead. It shows him standing right next to them. He looks at the camera and says, "Cue music."
Awesome. And in the trailer they showed Colossus.
Yeah.
Which is excellent. This movie's hopefully going to be doing it right. Now, one thing I will mention, just from watching the panel, like I said, the cast has this camaraderie, but the director, he's a first-time, Hollywood director. This is his first major Hollywood flick, and he was getting literally choked up and emotional talking about it because he has so much passion for this project. This has been his child and his dream, and as Ryan Reynolds said in the intro, thanks to some asshole in the audience who leaked this last year, this movie's finally being made, which is huge, and again, it's all about the fans. And that's kind of where I get taken back to why the fuck is Fox not releasing this footage? It's about the fans. You had leaked footage even caused this movie to be made, and now you can't just throw us a fucking bone and show us the actual little SDCC trailer you put together. What do you have to lose?
Right, and as we record this is the Monday right following. So hopefully within the few days we are going to get, straight up trailer.
Ryan Reynolds said 3 weeks.
3 weeks?
Yep, he said, this is straight from Ryan Reynolds' mouth. He says, as much as I would love to show you guys the footage from San Diego Comic-Con, the visual effects aren't ready. We'll have something very special for you in 3 weeks. So that's, let's see, 2 weeks. Is 3 weeks from now the first week of August? If you were to calendar that up for me?
Yeah. Yep.
So you know what that means. All he's essentially fucking saying is that the first Deadpool trailer will drop in theaters with fucking Fantastic Four. That's lame, man.
Well...
But, they want to get people in the seats to see Fantastic Four, and that's one way to do it. Hey, you're going to go see Fantastic Four, you get to see the Deadpool trailer first. Fuck, I better go see that Deadpool trailer.
You better go see the Deadpool trailer and just leave.
And then just leave.
I don't know. I mean, we're not... I don't have it on my list to talk about Fantastic Four.
Nah.
Again, I'm not totally against it. I'm not against it at all. I just don't know, and I probably won't go to see it.
I mean, that's a fair assumption. It's not one of those movies that, like I said, realistically this year, Ant-Man and then Star Wars, and I'm calling it. I can peep the Fantastic Four movie at a later date, and it won't offend me.
Yeah.
It's not my favorite team on Earth. It's not like it's Guardians. It's not like it's the Avengers. It's not the X-Men. I more appreciate the Fantastic Four because they were the first Marvel family. But really, whenever I see it's whenever I'll see it. I'm not really too concerned. One thing I learned, apparently Ryan Reynolds cried when he saw the Deadpool suit for the first time. And then also, the suit that he wore in the movie was the same suit throughout. And he got his filth and his stink in it, and they said it was like the smelliest suit ever, and he was like, it's part of the, almost kind of like Slipknot and how they do their having masks. It was kind of a part of the heritage of being Deadpool was how smelly the costume ended up becoming from, him filming all the scenes.
Well, that's awesome and disgusting at the same time.
Yeah, right? Filthy, stinky, sweaty stink. I think Deadpool's going to be phenomenal, man. Hopefully we do get to see something sooner rather than later, because, well, it sucks, and with waiting 3 weeks, it still sucks. Fucking Fox.
Oh, yeah. Yes, it does suck, but the trailer definitely did to me get across the idea of this is really giving the Deadpool fans what they want. This movie is made for the Deadpool fans, not for a general audience. Like, it's going to be enough of comedy there to try and bring in the general audience, but they're doing that without necessarily sacrificing what makes Deadpool Deadpool.
Yeah, and it's rated R. Fuck yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that'll be a pretty big thing. Is this first R-rated Marvel film pretty much to come out, even though it's from Fox, but still for not to ever come out, but in a more modern era when you have the more family-friendly Marvel movies, this is the first one to break out of that little box, if you will.
Hey, Brandon. There's another Fox movie that they showed a trailer for. First footage we got to see. Yet again, this is one that I didn't get my hands on any kind of an unofficial leaked trailer. Nothing. I haven't seen any footage on it, and I just have the description pulled up on what the fuck is that site? Comicbook.com for all your comic book needs.
Comicbook.com, the most generic name for a comic book site ever.
Yeah, the crazy thing is, though, is they're like I used to be huge into superhero hype, and then comicbook.com said, nope, this is how you do it. And they were getting out news and articles like, super fucking fast. I love comicbook.com. Go there. Comicbook.com. Was that too obvious? Okay, anyways. So we finally get to see the X-Men Apocalypse trailer, Brando.
Oh yeah, and I'm really excited about it too.
I'm pretty excited about it as well. I'm just going to read directly from comicbook.com what they have as the description of what happens in this trailer. And then we'll discuss it a little bit. Like I said, you've seen it. I haven't, so I'm just going to repeat what's here. It says, elements flash by as Jean Grey wakes up. She claims to have seen the end of the world. I can feel all this death, she says, but Professor X assures her it was just a dream. Apocalypse narrates, saying he's been called many things and giving a monologue consistent with a god complex. He's persuading the mutants to follow him. Mystique and Quicksilver look upset. Magneto is cornered in a forest. Moira McTaggart explains her tracking of Apocalypse. Characters flash by for their first appearances. Nightcrawler and Raven have a standoff. Magneto asks, "Who the fuck are you?" after Apocalypse removes his hood. "Come and see," he says, showing his purple face and silver helmet. Professor X says he can control all of us. Magneto forces him into Cerebro by pulling his chair with his powers. Cyclops can't control his powers. Chaos ensues. Quicksilver runs through a hallway, and Beast raises a gun, but he's not turned blue. Professor X's eyes go black, and he says, "I've never felt power like this before." The title card graces the screen, and then the doors to Cerebro open, and Charles is sitting in his chair, bald.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds bad as fuck.
Oh yeah, I mean, from what I was able to see of the trailer, it's pretty cool. The guy recording it on his phone definitely didn't capture it as well as he probably could.
Was he out on the 7 seas, It's like he was waving his phone up and down because of the fucking motion of the ocean.
There, I think part of the screen was obscured, so he didn't get a good shot. Granted, as we said before, if Fox would just release the damn trailer and get that over with, we wouldn't have we wouldn't be having this conversation. But whatever that is, it is. So, what this trailer did, I want to preface this by just saying that I was really out of superhero movies until last year. I'd seen a few, pretty much. I was out before The Dark Knight Rises came out. I didn't want to see anymore, but I saw Dark Knight Rises because I was already committed, if you will.
Invested in that series.
Yeah, I was already invested, so I'm like, I might as well go see this off and finish it. I did see Avengers, and I thought it was okay. As a story, there's nothing there to Avengers. It is really just an event meant to bring these characters together. But it was just, there were so many. Iron Man 2 was really like, okay, to be fair, Iron Man 1 made me go, okay, maybe this is getting better because of after X-Men 3, Spider-Man 3, I was so let down. And then after Iron Man and Dark Knight, I was like, okay, maybe this is going to get better. And then Iron Man 2 came out and went, oh my God, no. And it was something that, it wasn't just superhero movies in general. I think it was the blockbuster that I got tired of seeing as well. just I had no interest in going to see these big movie blockbusters because when you have these movies of this level, you get to a point of they're, as we said earlier, predictable, and it just seems like sometimes they don't try as hard, right? Now, I will say that I did miss First Class when that came out because I was in the midst of that. I don't care. I don't want. I'm out. I'm no longer invested in the X-Men universe. But then I saw the trailer for Days of Future Past. I said, you know what? I want to go see that. Bryan Singer's coming back to direct this. He was the guy who directed the first two X-Men movies, which I loved. And I'm like, I want to see what's going on here. So I went and saw the movie. I loved it. I went back, watched First Class, thought it was pretty good. So Days of Future Past was the movie that pulled me back in and made me watch some of these other ones that I had missed and get me back into the world of comic book movies. Now, with that being said, this is the third movie of the third trilogy in X-Men. Is that fair to say?
Okay, let's see. So you had the original X-Men trilogy, X1, X2, X3. Then you had the First Class trilogy, which will go... Or, well, no. Then you had the Wolverine... I guess it's going to be a trilogy, huh?
Yeah.
Which was X-Men Origins Wolverine, and Wolverine. Or was the last one The Wolverine? I can't remember.
Dude, you got me.
Wolverine. They just keep using the word Wolverine. I'm really hoping that they decide to turn the third Wolverine movie into just call it Old Man Logan, like Wolverine, Old Man Logan, and do the do the Old Man Logan storyline. I think it'd be really badass to see that on screen.
I've heard they are doing that. That's what they're doing as far as the storyline.
That will be excellent. So then that would be the second trilogy that they've done for X-Men movies. Then you have First Class, Days of Future Past, and then now Apocalypse being the third movie of the third trilogy of X-Men, which is exactly what you said.
Yeah. I'm excited for this because the way that they're like leading it up is going to be that this is the end. Like as far as like X-Men movies, they haven't said that they're doing anymore, but they've sort of hinted that this is going to be the last movie that they do.
Well, they're really starting a new trilogy. They just fooled you by calling it Gambit. Which I don't think Channing Tatum, no offense to Channing Tatum, like I think he's a funny actor and he plays that role. I don't think Channing Tatum can make a good Gambit movie. I don't care who you put with him. It's not... Gambit is not a character that's meant to be... I mean, I'm hoping I get proved wrong because Gambit's one of my favorite X-Men characters, but when you look down to the nitty-gritty of it, he kind of has almost Scott Summer-esque powers when you think about, visually speaking. He has this, like, laser blast-looking thing coming out of his hand, which is the kinetic energy with the cards. So they're going to have to really dig deep to make Gambit a good flick, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I honestly think that, well, I mean, isn't Gambit going to be in this new film?
I heard that, yeah, which is strange because Channing Tatum he's older than everyone in the cast by like 15 years at least.
Well, that's okay because you also have what's her name, Jennifer Lawrence in it as well, and she is not that much. She's right along there with Channing Tatum as well, like isn't she?
Nah, dude, she's 27.
And then how old is Channing Tatum?
I want to say Channing Tatum's like 33 or 34.
Okay, he is 35, born in 80.
Okay.
And she is 24. So, okay, he does have 10 years on her.
So you see what I'm saying? And then you got people like Sophie Turner, who are like, what, 19?
Yeah.
So,
and then you have Hugh Jackman.
who's like 800. He's so fucking old.
He is literally Wolverine now.
He has embodied the entirety of the Wolverines.
He's 46. But I mean, you do have a diverse cast. Channing Tatum can pull off someone a bit younger. He still kind of has a baby face to him. You can do an older Gambit along with these characters. Again, you're messing with the timeline a little bit, but that's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. You got to suspend your disbelief a little bit. Comic book nerds, they're too fucking uppity. Love you
Yeah.
guys, but we all have this really high opinion and high standard we hold Hollywood to. And the truth is, Hollywood's at least letting us see these fucking movies that we thought we'd never see when we were younger. We were stuck with Joel Schumacher's bat nipples.
We were stuck with bat nipples for a long time.
And I mean, if it wasn't for Chris Nolan and the Bat trilogy that he did, and then ultimately for Iron Man, the universe we have as far as the oversaturation of comic book characters wouldn't exist. I mean, you've got phenomenal shows like Arrow and the Flash and Gotham, and Supergirl's going to be, well, we'll maybe talk about that at some point down the road. But, you know, it's just, to me, we need to be grateful, because ultimately there was a time where this wasn't possible, and there was also a time where Hollywood was making superhero movies that were absolute shit. Look at Nick Fury, played by David Hasselhoff. Or the Captain America films back in the day, or
Punisher with Dolph Lundgren.
Dolph Lundgren's Punisher movie. I mean, these are all prime examples of Hollywood doing superheroes badly, and you know, they're forgotten about movies. The first time we have a superhero movie that wasn't forgotten with the times, in my guesstimation, was 1989 Batman with Keaton. You know, that still to this day stands the test of time. Actually, I just watched that 2 days ago. You know, and it's still a phenomenal movie. It's a little campy, but it's still great.
One would argue that, you know, the first couple of Superman films would be up there with that as far as, you know, standing the test of time.
Yeah. Christopher Reeve's Superman was definitely up there.
I mean, they were about, 10 years before the 89 Batman film.
Yeah.
And so you have that. But, I mean, you also have some other films that were made during that, you know, in the 90s era that really stand out. To me, The Crow will always stand out in that era as being a really good comic book, you know, hero movie. But unfortunately, there were a lot of characters that didn't get done well. Like, there's one movie that I have a soft spot for this movie, but it's not the greatest movie in the world, and that was the Spawn film that came out in 96?
Yeah, and that movie wasn't bad. It's just, it was a movie that was unappreciated for the time.
I kind of feel like that it is a little bad, but it's still a little good. You know what I mean? There is some bad and some hokiness to that film, but then again, you got to think about the era in which that film was made, and that they were afraid to give it an R rating. They were, you know, so the theatrical version was PG-13. Since now, like, the only version that you can buy is the unrated. But to see that movie or that character be redone now, granted the character's not really, like, you know, in the know or anything right now, sort of like, you know, he's not really popular. But then again, it's like, come on, you could think about, I mean, who is going off their rocker on the normal street? You walk up, somebody goes, "Dude, are you going to go see Doctor Strange next year?" People are going to go, "What?"
Doctor what? Or they'll go, "Doctor who?" And you'll go, no, Doctor Strange. Get it right.
I mean, there's a whole list of characters that they're coming out with movies for that are just, you know, not as popular on their own, as, you know, but maybe they have a small name. And I think Spawn is a character that could be well served with a new movie, especially with this day and age where it's more acceptable to be dark. Whereas when that movie was made in the mid '90s, it was like in the midst of, like, right in the middle between Batman Forever and Batman and Robin.
Which we know how campy. I mean, I personally love Forever, but both movies were very campy.
Oh my God, I watched Forever like a few months ago, and it was so hard to get through that movie.
Two-Face, show me how to punch a guy. Well, it's quite simple, my boy. Ball up the fist, reach way back, and assert yourself. You know? Anyways, let's not tangent into that.
We've tangented so far anyway.
Brando. December of this year, we get something dope as fuck. They showed some behind-the-scenes footage from this dope as fuck movie. I
Yeah,
have a story about this movie before we talk about the dope as fuck footage. And here's what the movie is, folks. It's Star Wars The Force Awakens. Now, I don't know if you read this article or not, Brando, but Kevin Smith recently got to go on set and go to where they're filming Star Wars. Did you read this article?
no.
All right, so he's talking to J.J. Abrams, and they're shooting the shit and having a good time. J.J. looks over at his assistant and says, hey, go ahead and take, we'll call her Gloria. So he's like, hey, Gloria, go ahead and take Kevin over to Studio M. So Kevin's just like, sure, yeah, I'll go wherever, you know. And she takes him into Studio M. It's a dark room. She flicks on the lights, and there in front of Kevin Smith is the Millennium Falcon. And he got to walk inside of it. And he said that every step he took, he lost 10 years of his life. Like, he went from 40 to 30 to 20 to 10 years old. And it, like, brought him to his knees, and he was crying, just overwhelmed with emotion, because it was like, you know, that was one of the movies that made him decide he wanted to do movies. And here he is standing on the Millennium Falcon of something that is a legacy, you know. And it was a very empowering moment for him, I guess.
Oh, that's neat. Oh, yeah.
But they showed some behind-the-scenes stuff. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, so pretty much what we got was we didn't get a new trailer, we didn't get anything like that, but we did get to see them talking a lot about how the use of actual locations and practical effects, which is something that the prequels lacked. Because, I mean, even the most mundane scenes in that series were filmed on a blue screen, which is ridiculous to me. But in this now, we're sort of taking it back to the original trilogy in the fact that we got more practical effects. We're on location. It's going to give it that more realistic of a feel. We're going to get more. It's going to feel more like you can reach out and you can touch it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, and I loved what's it? What's the ball droid's number? B88?
BB-8.
BB8, okay. He's practical. That's bad as fuck.
Yeah. Oh,
Because
yeah,
the way that droid moves is crazy. So for that to be practical is insane. And they were showing some of the alien faces that are practical, and getting to see some of the scenes of how they shoot, you know, certain cockpit shots from inside the Falcon and stuff. And it was kind of overwhelming to me to see Harrison Ford sitting in the cockpit again.
Yeah.
It was just like, whoa.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
We also got confirmation that Simon Pegg is in the movie.
Yeah, he's playing some sort of monster, right?
Some alien, yeah.
That's pretty cool. I like Simon Pegg.
Oh, yeah, that's kind of cool as well. I mean, of course, you know, he's pretty good friends with JJ, so...
They did Star Treks together.
Mm-hmm. And then, of course, Simon Pegg is writing the new Star Trek, along with some other fella, which is supposed to be coming out next summer in June. We'll see.
Another busy fucking movie for next year, man.
Yeah, no shit. But one thing that this did is that we actually got to see Carrie Fisher for the first time in outfit. Now, she wasn't doing anything, but there was just so much kind of crammed into here without it being, you know, super celebrated. You know, it wasn't like a big, you know, huzzah moment. But it did. But if you sit back and you watch it and you take your time, you can pause it and look at it. You're gonna get a lot of answers to some stuff, you know, hidden in plain sight, if you will. As far as like stuff you're wondering about with Leia, stuff with Han, and then you have how they're doing things. It was really cool to see.
Well, fill us in. What are some of the things that you saw did you pause it and go through and find Easter eggs? I only watched it once. So
I watched it once as well, but as I was going along, I was pausing it just to make sure I saw what I saw. And, you know, making sure as far as like, because they did show close-ups of some of the facial capture stuff like that as well. And there was something else that I saw as well. Some of the, you know, like the flamethrower troopers that they have now. They showed that. They showed again Leia complete in costume. So that pretty much tells you that in the teaser, the person who gets the lightsaber when it says my sister has it is Leia.
Well, yeah. I mean, but
But it was
it's official confirmation.
well, I mean, yeah, it's like okay, cool. Now we know, and knowing is half the battle.
Go Joe.
Go Joe. It was really neat. In the absence of another trailer, it was pretty cool.
I mean,
Oh
honestly, man, I don't think they need to hype Star Wars that much more. People know. They're
Oh yeah,
excited. I
yeah,
mean,
people know. I don't know if we're gonna get another official trailer, but I could see it as well. I could see us getting one more trailer before the film comes out.
I agree with that, man. I would say maybe a new teaser trailer with Ant-Man this week. Some sort of short trailer that's some of the footage we've already seen with very few snippets of new footage. I'm not really sure, man. Disney and Marvel are a team now, which means Star Wars and Marvel are a team. So now you can cross promote however you want, and Ant-Man's going to be huge. I think, just predicting into the future, I think the first trailer and the first footage we're going to see for Civil War is going to be with Star Wars.
That's pretty likely, actually.
I mean, it's the most sensible thing. That's the most optimum time to show off footage. The question is, does DC buy some time to also have Batman v Superman trailer play before Star Wars?
I would.
Me too, man. Fuck it. It's going to be I mean, I know that right now Jurassic World's highest grossing of this year, and it beat out Avengers, but there's no questions that Star Wars destroys every record.
Oh man, I have no doubt that they're going to blow Jurassic World out of the water.
Brandon, we were
Nate.
talking about DC earlier, and I didn't know this until you put it on our list of things to talk about. There's going to be a Killing Joke animated film.
Mm-hmm.
We'll go ahead and talk about it, man. Tell me what's going on with this. I actually didn't see anything on that. Just this week of SDCC has just been really busy. There were some things that definitely got through my net.
Well, okay. I mean, because there's just a lot of stuff that's gone down, and I didn't want to spend too much time on it because I don't really know a whole lot. But I do know that Bruce Timm did announce they're doing an animated film for The Killing Joke, which is something that has been on the table for quite a few years, if I remember correctly. I've gone back and listened to a lot of episodes of Fat Man on Batman, Kevin Smith's Batman podcast, and of course, guy that he's had on the show a lot is Paul Dini, who is a writer for for Batman, especially in the times of the animated series, which Bruce Timm was also the main guy behind that project as well. So this has been something that has been talked about. I know Hamill has said he wants to, if they ever did a Killing Joke, he would want to come out of retirement to do the voice because he hasn't done the voice for an animated feature or anything like that other than the Arkham series for the Joker in quite some time, and he would love to put his spin on the Killing Joke.
If he doesn't get to play Joker and do that story, it'll be depressing.
Yeah, I mean, there are other fellas who have done a pretty good job at voicing the Joker. Was it John DiMaggio comes to mind?
Yep.
He did it. He did it for Under the Red Hood. Troy Baker does a good job, but in Troy Baker, I hear almost kind of like at times he's channeling his inner Mark Hamill. So, I mean, it's the same, but not, It's almost like, okay, we can't get Mark Hamill. All right, then let's get Troy Baker, because that's the next closest thing to a Mark Hamill like Joker.
Hey, question real quick.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert for Arkham people who haven't played the game yet. Yeah, thank you. That was really good, Brando. That was Mark Hamill, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so. I just wanted to be 120% that Conroy and Hamill were the voices for those roles.
Oh, yeah. They were, Hamill came back for that, so that was pretty neat. Because the way that they integrated the Joker into that game was brilliant.
Oh, so fucking smart, dude. And so random.
Random, yes. I also like how in that game, they actually put their own video game spin on the Killing Joke.
They did, yes, they did.
They did quite a few of that. This was the first, I mean, the Arkham games kind of sort of have their own universe based on events that have happened in the comics. and whatnot. It's almost kind of like, to me, they've taken like the best of the comics, animated series, the movies, mashed them into their own universe to make the Arkhamverse, right? And this one was the first one to really go out of its way to show, okay, this is the Killing Joke. Okay, this is Red Hood, you know? Like, oh, okay. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but something that I wasn't necessarily expecting, but I really enjoyed the way that they pulled that off with their interpretation of the Killing Joke. And that it was like that, and then a certain joke that they make later on is just a lot of the Joker scenes in this one were really morbid. Some of the stuff that he says.
Yes.
And again, spoiler alert, guys. If you've listened this far into this, then well, I guess it's just too bad, because I'm going to go in full spoiler mode here. After, I want to say it was your first time or whatever getting to Catwoman, and has the explosive around her neck. You walk out of the building because you have to go to some Riddler challenge, and there's Joker sitting on a ledge as you walk out. Is like, oh well, you got a certain choice here now, don't you, Bats? Go save the damsel and the lady who's the damsel in distress because she's associated with you, or go save the damsel in distress because she's associated with you. And he goes personally, I'd want to go see what Riddler has in store for you. He goes Barbara's already halfway dead anyway. He goes, after all, it's not exactly how he says it. I totally botched it, but he's like, after all, I killed half of her anyway.
Yeah, the whole, man, again, we're tangenting, but fucking Arkham Knight was so good. Quickly, me and Brandon have both completed the game. I also beat the Harley pack and the Red Hood pack. So I've 100%ed it. So now, if I decide to shell out the $40 for season pass, so I can play the Batgirl story and all the stuff that comes with that, I'll just keep playing. But man, the game was phenomenal. Cut and dry. I mean, and I'm looking forward to, I'm hoping that the next Arkham or the next Batman game they do Rocksteady. I know they did this as a trilogy. My hope is that the next Rocksteady game with Batman involved is going to be a Justice League game.
Yeah, that would be neat.
Where you can play as different characters throughout the city.
That would be kind of neat. Now, I will say, since we're already on this topic, I've had a little bit of time to sit on on the Arkham game. I will say it's fantastic. I absolutely loved it. But there were just a few things about it that I did not like.
Preach, brother man.
It was the real absence of boss fights. Boss fights in the other games have been something to really look forward to. More specifically, the ones that come to mind immediately are the Mr. Freeze fight from Arkham City.
Yep.
And the Deathstroke fight from Origins. I loved both those fights.
Okay, and then if we're talking big boss fights, my personal favorite fight, still to this day from the entire series, was the set of Scarecrow fights. Where it's puzzle-based, and then there's a battle,
Yeah. I really enjoyed that. And this one, there's a real absence of that. They have so many villains, and there's really no boss battle to any of them. Granted, with the Arkham Knight, you do get one, but it seems like a lot of the boss battles are forced into Batmobile tank battles.
Yep.
Which they do it twice. Now, again, spoilers here. They do it once with the I can't remember the name of that device.
The Cloudburst.
The Cloudburst. They do it with the Cloudburst, and then they do it again later on with another tank, with another villain. And it's pretty much a copy and paste fight. That I was very disappointed by that. As far as boss battle, I was pretty sure that there was not going to be any major boss battle with Scarecrow, because it's mostly all psychological anyway.
Exactly.
I was okay with the way they did that. I was a little disappointed with the actual Arkham Knight boss fight that you get. It was really just kind of monotonous.
Mm-hmm.
Not much of anything. Now, surprisingly, the only real boss fight that you get, traditional like boss fight, is the Riddler. You actually get to take him out. Now, the other characters, I guess you could say there are some of the other minor characters. You don't really have a boss fight with Man-Bat.
You get a kind of a with Pig. Pig has a boss battle kind of.
Yeah, sort of.
Which is still very easy because if you're good at free flow fighting in that game at all, you just dodge and paste. You know,
right.
Essentially.
Same thing with Firefly.
Yep.
Not much there, just which is unfortunate. That's the only thing about this game that holds it back in my opinion, and it doesn't hold it back very far because I think the story is very well done.
I think
but
what this game holds back for me is how glitchy it is.
It is pretty glitchy,
and there are some weird glitches I've encountered. We've both posted some on our various Facebooks, but one I didn't tell you about, Brando, is the other day I was inside of the Panessa film studio.
Yeah.
And lost the ability to grapple. I was in stage B, and I physically, the R1 wouldn't show up to grapple. I had to close out of the game and start over.
That's weird.
Yeah. Just for no reason. So, and we saw your awesome Deathstroke. What the fuck?
That was again, that was the only time that I fought him. I was at the point where like, all right, got to fight Deathstroke now. And the game glitched out on me, like, right in the middle. And then it ended it.
The game beat him for you.
Not only did the game beat him for me, it did it over the ocean, or, like, over the water.
And then dropped the Batmobile in the middle of the ocean.
They're floating as he's loading him up in the Batmobile, and then he jumps in the Batmobile to take off, and it just falls right in the water.
Tons of fail.
I was laughing so hard. I was like, what is this?
Fail City. That's what it is.
Yep. Arkham Fail.
Okay. Brando.
Yo.
A couple days ago, we released an episode of Journey into Comics where I sat down with our friend Anthony. We talked about The Walking Dead. Now you and I are going to discuss The Walking Dead, more specifically the TV. And then actually, we're going to also get down and dirty and discuss the events of The Walking Dead 144. But that's a good way to close out this episode, I think, is to discuss all the Walking Dead stuff we can discuss. First of all, Series 6 trailer looked fucking awesome. There were a lot of dark moments. You know, Morgan is back. The Alexandria group is finally saying we need to trust Rick Grimes. It seems that Daryl has got himself in a very precocious position. Lots of craziness happening in this trailer. It was very action-packed, wouldn't you say?
Yes, and there's also a quick glimpse at a new character from the comics, Heath.
Yep, Heath is showing up.
Heath is there. I get the idea. This is just what the trailer's trying to preach to you. That is someone trying to take Alexandria away from Rick? And is that person Morgan?
Yeah, maybe that's what it's leading you to believe, but okay, you know this as well as I do, that if they follow the comics at all, that's not the story they're telling.
No, because I mean, really in the comics, Morgan joined them on their trek up to Alexandria anyway.
Correct, and then here on the TV show, he's just behind and met them there.
Well, see, and then again, Morgan's also a different character than what he is in the comics.
Agreed. He's definitely went off the deep end in the TV show.
And so now he's more like this Zen coming to terms with things. You know, it's like, this is the person who came out after the trauma, right?
He's Robert Hawkins. Yep. You know, that's all I could think about, man. I was like, he's just playing Robert Hawkins now. What the fuck?
And okay, to me, to have him as like almost like Rick's antagonist, because Rick in the show he's pretty much at this point become the show's villain.
Really, Rick has, yeah.
He's the main character and he is the villain. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean that he's like doing dastardly things? Not necessarily, but he's willing to do anything that he can to keep his people safe. He's willing to kill. He's willing to even stand up to people and go over that line. to where, okay, this is not the good old boy Rick anymore. He is where Shane was all the way back in season 2. This Rick and that Shane would have got along great.
Exactly.
But I mean, let's face it, if Shane was already there at season 2, where would Shane be now? If that character was allowed to continue to grow. I mean, he would have been so far off the deep end. You don't know exactly where that line would have been for him. With Rick, having Morgan there is almost like an antagonist to him. It's almost like you have the devil and the angel on your shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them is Morgan, one of them is Rick. And in a way, I wonder if that's what it's sort of going to be with, I cannot remember her name, but she's in charge of the Alexandria.
Deanna.
Yeah. I wonder if that's sort of going to be the model story for this season, is those two, like, this is the way it has to be. And Morgan's like, it doesn't. I wonder if that's kind of what they're going to do with the first half of this season. I don't think the whole season's going to be that, because something inside me tells me that we're going to get something more towards the latter half of the season.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think that they're going to be very shy about doing it at this point, but I think that you're trying to tell me Negan's coming?
Yeah.
I mean, it seems fairly obvious at this point, which... Brando, we're going to get to this in a minute, but Negan has style and flair for his ability to talk and have catty one-liners and talk about his normal-sized wiener and all the great things that Negan is for, but per the comics, I'm slowly starting to believe that he is not the most villainous character we've seen in The Walking Dead.
That's weird, because I still think that he is.
I mean, as of right now, he still is, but I think that there is someone who we'll discuss shortly that's on the threshold of taking that from him. Because he's the one thing that Negan has that makes him likable is he's so charismatic.
Yeah.
And this other character is not charismatic and just very cold. And there's a different kind of, this is almost governor territory again,
that's what I still think that's what makes Negan more dangerous.
Okay.
As you can almost, when someone is that cold, how they're going to be. With Negan, that's what makes him so unpredictable.
You don't know how he's going to be.
Exactly.
He keeps his intentions well hidden.
Mm-hmm.
We've been building up Negan on this show ever since we fucking started it, Brando.
We have.
Negan is the main speaking point. So hopefully we get him this year, season 6, so we can actually go see people. We told you he was fucking crazy and worth it.
That, or like their version of Negan on the show is not going to be what we've built up for the last year at all.
God, it would be the worst. I'd just be like, fuck, I want to go home now. Like, I'm done. Brandon, paired with the Walking Dead Season 6 trailer, we got the official look at Fear the Walking Dead Season 1. What are your thoughts on this? I just watched the trailer before we came on today, and I don't really have an opinion one way or the other. The only thing I will say is it's going to be hard for me, personally, to get into another show about the Walking Dead when I'm so heavily invested in the character Rick Grimes.
I can agree with that sentiment. However, I'm also very excited to see the Before the Fall.
Okay.
I'm very excited to see that part. And we're seeing it from a different perspective, so we still don't know all the story elements of what happened with the characters that we've already come to accustomed to. We're seeing it with all new characters, so now we can watch them deal with this and grow with this as it's happening. That's pretty much what this trailer really is. It shows people. It shows people going throughout their normal lives as things start happening, as they're watching it on their phones, like it's just like it's normal life. We watch news, we watch clips, videos on our phones, on our smartphones, and that's exactly what they're doing. They're saying this: the cops shoot this walker, the zombie, whatever they're going to call them, so many times, and just him not following. Like, what's up with that guy?
He's a coke fiend.
Yeah. So it's to me, that's really neat. My one worry is that this show starts, I want to say, August 23rd, maybe?
Let's see if Brandon can Brando all over himself.
I want to say it was August 23rd because it was in August and late August.
So it has nearly a 2-month jump on The Walking Dead. That's crazy.
But see, what my fear is that fear of the Walking Dead. Well, wait a minute. That's kind of a play on words there, isn't it? Premieres on August 23rd. With the way that this series is going to go, there's not going to be that much time in between Fear the Walking Dead's season finale and The Walking Dead season premiere. Season premiere, Walking Dead is like October 11th.
Yeah, I think so.
So if we just do a little bit of math here, you got August 23rd, that's 1, 2, 30th, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And if they're doing 8 episodes,
which a freshman season of an AMC show usually does.
Okay. 8 episodes of Fear the Walking Dead is going to... The 8th episode, my math is correct. I'm actually going to recount just to make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, it's going to be on October 11th. So we're going to get the series finale, or
And
season finale, season premiere, and on the same night.
Super smart. That's the way to do it.
But what my fear is that with these two shows running into each other, I have a fear that's going to oversaturate the market. And it's going to become too much zombie show. I mean, granted, these shows are not going to be zombie shows. They are shows set with zombies. That's the way they've always been. That has been one of the big selling points for The Walking Dead is people are like, somebody who's actually been on the show before has been like, dude, I don't know. I hate zombies. And I'm like, dude, you have to watch this show. It's not a zombie show. It's a show with zombies.
It really is.
He goes, I fucking hate zombies. I'm like, dude, you're going to love these characters and you're going to just accept the zombies are there. It's like at some point in this universe, the zombies are just more of a set piece than they are, they're always a threat, but
they're a product of the environment.
Exactly. And eventually he did, and he absolutely loves the series. But hopefully that's not going to be simply because of how different the first season of Fear the Walking Dead is going to feel other than the Walking Dead. It's going to have a different feel to it.
Do you think there's going to be some sort of 1 or 2 character bleed over that will maybe meet in one episode of Fear the Walking Dead that'll show up in season 6 as a character we're already well established with that was in the comics, and that's a transformation moment, if you will?
So far, from what I've read, there are no plans for any crossover.
Okay.
So for right now, Fear the Walking Dead is going to be an entirely independent story going on in the same universe.
Okay, that makes sense. That's fine. Well, it looked all right. Like I said, I have too much of a connection to the Rick Grimes character and to that whole, Walking Dead thing. And to me, it makes logical sense that Kirkman wants to do a TV show with all new characters. You have the video game that has all new characters, the Telltale game. The comic books have their own set of characters. Daryl was introduced as a special TV character as well as Merle. And so to me, it made logical sense that Kirkman wants to do a show with all new characters where he can tell a totally different side of this. It's going to have to be captivating right out of the jump, or it's not going to maintain people.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's going to have to, be something special from the get-go. I think there's going to be a little bit of a slow start. It's going to feel completely different. It will feel different because there's going to be so many more actual people. Because it's just going to be normal life for, as shit starts hitting the fan. So you're going to have, a lot of extras that aren't walkers, that aren't zombies. It's people. So the show is going to feel different from the start.
People. All right. Well, Anthony and I talked about Walking Dead 141, 142, 143. Brando's now caught up over this past week during the week of SDCC. The Walking Dead 144 finally dropped, and they did not disappoint with the wow factor. As we left people in 143, Alpha was showing Rick her massive cache of walkers that she had stored up, and essentially telling Rick, hey, I don't want to have to destroy everything you love, but tempt me, motherfucker, and I will. She comes back. She's got blood on the machete. She ran into some trouble on the road. We find out what's going on now. Brandon, what are your reactions for 144? A very, in my opinion, very emotional episode or issue.
Well, I mean, this was the culmination of what they've been doing since they did the time jump of them doing a fair, and they wanted to do this sort of get together between the communities to have like this big fair, kind of like what we have, around this time of year, where you have, these events in these communities where you go and have fun, right? And
Right.
the culmination of this is the first. I want to say this is the first issue since we got back with the time jump that we actually saw Ezekiel.
No.
Is it not?
I think there's one other book where him and Rick or him and somebody are having a conversation about how much he cares about Michonne.
Okay, there may have been. I know that he hasn't had much story since the time jump.
Correct.
Because the big story with the time jump has been little bit of Negan, these new communities, what's going on with the Whisperers, what's going on over at the Hilltop, what's been going on with Carl. So this whole fair was a reason to get all these characters together, and true to form, as soon as any sort of like big happy news or something happy happens, something horrible has to follow it.
Oh, of course.
I mean, that's true to form with the Walking Dead comics, pretty much up to this point. And I'm not sure exactly how he does it, but you get yourself so wrapped up in the story that you sort of forget that something bad can happen.
Exactly, because you get caught up on the characteristics of it. So, in the start of 144, Alpha's talking to Rick, and she says, look, I've got my Whisperers in there. They are corralling this horde. They're guiding the horde. I can take them and make them do whatever I want. Let's get off this roof. They're having a conversation. They get back to being in front of Carl and Lydia. Carl is like, let's take Lydia. Rick is like, no, don't do that. And hold on. We jump to, Carl saying, look, Lydia's a good chick, and she's living in squalor, and the guys do things to her when she sleeps, and she doesn't say anything about it. And Alpha's response was very dark. What, rape? Oh, it's like it's a big deal. It's just their animalistic instinct.
Yeah.
And you're just like, holy shit, that's your daughter, bro. Really? That's how you feel? Okay. So she is conversing with Rick, and Rick goes, we can make her safe, and get her away from this. And I thought it was crazy that Alpha's like, okay, take her, fine, just save my daughter. And you're just like, for a moment, you're like, wow, this Alpha, she's a very emotional person and has just had to do what she's had to do. Again, becoming a product of the environment. And she tells Rick in her final thing, look, we have a border, and you're going to get to this border, and when you do, you're going to know it's our border. You don't cross into our land again. And that's that. There won't be any trouble. And Brando, what we get for a border is a little bit overwhelming.
Yeah, now, I built up the fair earlier because Alpha actually went to the fair.
Yes.
She went to Alexandria. She blended in with everybody else. A few people took notice of her, but they didn't really raise any questions. And there were multiple people at this fair that ran off on their own. I'm not sure if you noticed that, but it's like there's multiple people who like left the big group. This, they went away from the big gathering, and every single one of these people have a certain connection with this border.
The worst connection to the border. As Rick leave, well, really what happens is Rick and Carl start heading back to find Andrea, Michonne, and Dante. Now, they get to the site where Rick dropped them off with the Whisperers, and they're gone. And they're like, oh, fuck, something must have broke out. This is not good. And they keep walking. And then in the distance, they see what looks like a border. And they're like, oh, cool, we're at this border. Except for this border is the most fucked up thing I've ever seen in a comic book. Because it's the heads of several members of the Alexandria community. Severed heads on stakes to stake a border. And the border goes for, a couple miles, you can clearly see. Maybe not everyone is from Alexandria, but there's a large portion that have become casualty to Alexandria and its people. Now, there was a big one, Brando. This was we should throw in the spoiler alert right here, I'd say. You changed it up. I like that. But huge spoiler as motherfucking Ezekiel is dead, bro.
Boom.
I mean, first they kill Shiva, and then they take out Ezekiel. Are you kidding me? Like, and then we get the ending panel where it's like, what do we do now?
Yeah. And it's like, do you really think they're, like, just going to let this slide?
Yeah, but it's like, how can you, and this is back on Prechronospunk, Anthony and I were talking about this, and this has been kind of Anthony's big thought for a while, ever since Negan didn't die, was there has to be a moment, a drama, if you will, where he believes, at least Anthony believes, that Negan is the person that saves the day. He's the guy that can help Rick Grimes get out of a situation. And after 144 and the events that happen, maybe this is that fucking situation, man.
That's going to be a really weird and tense couple of issues if they go that route with Negan and make him and Rick work together.
Well, I mean, Negan tried to make Rick trust him, as we saw in 141. He didn't leave his cell. He said he could do a bunch of heinous shit he didn't do. Man, Negan is like the secret super weapon. I don't know. I think he's crazy enough that he could go up against Alpha, and he can outsmart Alpha, and he could, change the game, essentially, Maybe he becomes this great anti-hero. Who knows?
Now, the one thing with this border is that I mentioned earlier about how as soon as good news happens, bad news seems to follow.
Oh, yeah.
And there was an announcement with someone being pregnant.
Maybe I missed that. Fill me in.
Because one of the heads was the girl who was with Eugene, right?
Oh, it was Rosita.
Rosita?
Yes, it was.
And she just announced that she was pregnant.
I forgot all about that. Wow, yeah, so couple major character deaths. Several major character deaths in this issue.
Because under each head, they have characters associated with that person, like looking for them.
Mm-hmm. Which was an awesome way to shoot the panel. Every time it showed a head of one of the people that are a part of the dead border, the panel directly under it, so it was like a split 2 panel. The bottom panel was someone at the Alexandria Fair asking about said character. Where's so-and-so? What are they up to? What are they doing? Where have they been? I haven't seen them for a couple hours. They ran off with so-and-so. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, and the first one is Olivia.
Oh, yeah.
Who, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't she just get berated?
I think so, yeah, right?
For Negan, right?
Yeah. For not making sure the cell was closed.
Yeah.
Ugh, man. This is a very tense episode or issue. I keep saying episode for some fucking reason. It's like these books are movies, you know. They're
Yeah.
episodes, you know, of a TV show. But 144, man, I got done reading it, and I walked down the living room, and I was like, literally shaking a little bit, and I was like, that was an intense fucking read. Like, I was not expecting that at all, you know. Maybe with Walking Dead 100, it makes a little more sense to do a major character death. But just 144, random-ass issue, you know, for no reason. And it was just a fucking slaughterhouse.
I love in the last panel of the book where you have Michonne standing right in front of Ezekiel's head.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, her eyes shut, tears streaming in her face. And then you have, you know, Carl's crying. Rick is, like, clutching his gut like he's been gut punched, just trying to come to grips with the situation. Then you have Andrea, and the way that she's drawn with her poncho and her hat makes it look like she's like the Lone Ranger. Because her eyes are, like, shadowed. she's just like, what do we do now, Tonto?
I don't know. One thing I will say, I just because I was so fucking curious, I had to go look at the cover for 145 because it's a couple weeks out. The cover of 145 is dope as fuck. This is what I'm gonna say. So it's a kind of a grayscaled cover, almost like a blue tint, black and white. Michonne's machete is in the middle of it, and it's like pouring blood. Like there's like blood streaming out of this machete. And the episode, or the issue title, because they've been, I did it again, the issue title, because they've been titling the issues for a while now, ever since the time jump. The issue is titled Blood for Blood. So that makes me assume there's immediate retaliation around the corner somehow.
It definitely looks like it's someone else. It's like, of course, Michonne taking her action for what they did to Ezekiel. And for all the other people, but for mostly, she has a strong emotional attachment with Ezekiel, even though they were not together. She couldn't let herself be with him. I guess that's what the excuse was, right?
Well, yeah, because, you know, if she lost him, it would hurt too badly, and she lost him, and it still hurt too badly. And I think that's going to be repercussions and something she deals with moving forward in these books, is that she wasn't with the man she loved, and now he's gone, and she can't love him. And now she realizes that maybe her decision was a mistake. But maybe she just becomes rage mode. Maybe we get to see, like, Michonne's Shane, you know, Machine. Where she just goes all rage mode and fucks everybody up. And has no regard for anything or anyone anymore, you know. She's kind of reckless abandon.
I have no doubt that, you know, that she's going to go off the deep end with this. But I don't know if she's going to go machine, but...
New term, I guess that dropped. But, man, Brando, in closing, Walking Dead's fucking killer. I thought SDCC overall this year was great. As a collector of pops, I will say fuck you, San Diego Comic-Con, for making the pop vinyl game nearly impossible. They, you know, they don't limit how people can buy at SDCC, and then you have flippers, and we've had this discussion a million times. Flippers buy tons of the same product. They put it online for triple the price. You can't get it for reasonable prices. When I started in the pop game, when I was a part of the original part of the pop game back before they were super popular,
I get it.
you know, I spent $14 on a SDCC exclusive Shadow Trooper pop. Today, that pop vinyl is worth $900. Now, people say, oh, well, it's $100 for this exclusive SDCC pop. Fuck you, no. You're assuming that it's going to maintain value or gain value. Some characters don't gain value, but that's a whole other podcast. I'm not getting into that. Anyways, people can check us out on where we got our iTunes, right, Brando?
Oh, yeah, we're on iTunes, we're on Podbean, we're all over the interwebs, Instagram, YouTube, YouTube's been a little bit lacking. That's my fault.
You have a bun in the oven.
I do.
The oven's about ready to let the bun come out.
Yep. Hopefully soon.
Yeah, that'll be exciting, man. And then just letting people know that when Brandon does welcome the birth of his son into the world, he's going to step away for a few weeks and get himself kind of together. And then as soon as he's ready to step back onto the show, he'll be here with arms wide open, man. We'll be ready to discuss it. And until then, we'll be doing episodes with you, just as normal.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Now, what I will say is, I don't know what your plans are for next week, Brando, but I'm going to be hopefully doing an Ant-Man special this weekend.
Sweet.
I don't know who's going to be on the show officially. I'm not sure the details. So this San Diego Comic-Con episode is going to be coming out. It's coming out this week in the middle of the week, in between our normal Sunday release, because we felt it was very important to talk about. So was there anything else you wanted to add about SDCC before we let them go?
Not about SDCC, but the unfortunate news that broke yesterday about the president of Nintendo. Yep. Mr. Iwata passed away, so R.I.P. Iwata.
Yep, 55 sucks.
Yeah.
And then today there was a rainbow over Nintendo headquarters.
There was?
There really was. There's a picture online. He was going on Rainbow Road, they're saying, so that's kind of cool.
That's neat.
But other than that, folks, it's been an awesome episode. Hope you've enjoyed checking out this episode of Journey into Comics. We're covering San Diego Comic-Con. Brando, my co-host, and myself will let you guys get back to your regular-ass days. Thanks for tuning in. Later.